In this video today, you're gonna see me actually sell a live prospect. Back when I was making 100K a month, this is one of the sales calls I had taken with an amazing human being named Willer, where you're gonna see me sell a prospect that's only making $1,000 to $2,000 a month, selling him on a 10 to 16K deal using credit. And two, you're gonna see me exactly how the tone I use, how I held him accountable, what questions I asked him, start to finish of the impact formula. Take a look, take some notes, and I'll see you on the inside.
So tell me though, man. I know you had a brief chat with my colleague John, and he gave me a pretty, like I'd say, decent idea of where you're at. I told him to keep some of it brief because I wanted to kind of get it right from you so that nothing kind of got lost in translation. Did you go through the interview, by the way, with Gallagher, Patrick Gallagher, that other advisor that John had sent to you? The 30 minute you did.
I may
Remember
have.
that? That other advisor that went from like 5K to 25K a month
Yes,
in
yes,
commission?
yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
I
yes,
want I
yes.
wanted to just because I thought that
The
would be a bit
financial
more.
service guy.
Yeah, yeah. What did you take away from that before we get into it? Like, what did you take away as far as what he was doing before and you became after that you felt like sort of related, kind of where you're at?
Well, one is that his communication was, for lack of a better term, the rough edges had been smoothed out, and so
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
and so it's kind of like the way he was communicating wasn't giving room for any pushback. It really
Sure.
was kind of opening or inviting the person that he may have been talking with to
Right.
kind of join in with him so that they
Mhm.
could actually effectively communicate. And
Yeah, to go through that.
that's
Yeah, I
good.
wanted you to go through that one in particular because he's also getting you, right? Where you're kind of lowering your status in some of these conversations. So like having kind of that better structure. 'Cause right now it's kind of up and down from what it sounds like, right?
Sure. Right.
Now, one thing I did want to ask you based on what John told me is like, just so I see the rationale, but besides obviously making more money, what is the main reason you're possibly looking at more of that advanced training from someone like rather than just like talking with more people? Do you know what I mean? Like, why the scale over just the sheer volume, like speak to more prospects type concept?
Well, it's kind of like this, Yash, and it's pronounced Yash, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's right.
You know, I could go through the numbers, but how much more would I benefit if I go through the numbers with an improved skill set?
Right, or it's kind of like efficiency type concept, and it sounds like, right? Pretty much. And tell me one thing then. Before we spoke, John mentioned you did some type of training that you had invested in, right? Something like that. To tell me about that real quick, because I know it didn't
Yeah.
go ideally the way we wanted.
Excuse me. Yeah, I didn't go look for the book. This guy wrote a book, and really it was about
Oh, so it
uh
was a book. It wasn't like a training or anything. You didn't
no, it was
invest in.
both. It was both.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, it was both. And so I read his book, and it was really about maximizing your day, becoming efficient, organized. Really, now, granted, I was not in business full time at the time. I had a full time job that was pretty demanding time wise, so I really didn't have an opportunity to really focus, intently on, building my business. Okay. So there was that distraction. However, I decided to invest in myself, and I got a few trinkets, but
Right.
it was kind of like really just a lot of fluff.
Can you explain what they were teaching you, really having the success?
Um, it was well, I think I took it more as, it was a kind of positive, kind of upbeat, you know, it, picked me up for the moment.
Right.
And
Okay.
after, it was kind of like, it's kind of like you going and getting motivated at a function. When you leave the function, then you're leaving the function, you're excited, you're motivated, you're ready to go tear down walls. But then, after a few hours pass, then it's, that motivation begins to wear off. And so,
But what do you think shifted now? Maybe when you thought that made you feel as if to focus more on the skill rather than just like the hype.
well, I have been listening to, as far as, I would see his videos,
Yeah.
and the the words that he was saying made sense to me. The words that he was saying not to say were the
Mm.
words that I was saying, right?
Okay.
For me, I believe that if I become more effective in my approach, in my going through questions, bring the potential client, um, and I just believe that I will be more effective.
Right.
And
So let's do one thing then, like just because I obviously don't want what happened last time to happen again, like just to make sure what we're doing and what you're doing is to work for you. But besides like having more of like skill set thing, right, rather than just like a hype thing, like what do you feel you actually need then in terms of like an advanced training program? Like what is your ideal criteria of what you feel you need to like really so you can get the outcome you want?
well, I think a start for me would be at least getting the information,
Okay.
um, and
Meaning,
then I'm sorry,
meaning when you say
the,
information.
the book.
Okay. Like, I guess my question is more like, what do you feel like you need out of more advanced training? Because, like, obviously, a book isn't gonna teach you advanced analogy or advanced question, right? So
Mhm.
we're gonna need something more. What do you feel like you need in actual training? So you're in.
Say the information first, but
Okay.
then I need a coach to help me implement the information.
Mm. Sort of like a
That's where I was headed.
yeah, like a structure then, like a more efficient structure, and then some accountability and support to make sure you're able to follow through. Type thing. Okay.
Mhm.
Now you mentioned coach. Like obviously you need a better process, otherwise we'd be crushing it now. But when you say having accountability and support of a coach, like why is that aspect so important to you? Like now though.
Well, because quite frankly, I'm in business with someone that is really not a people person, not really a person that, to me, a coach is someone that time that you're that
Yeah.
that you're under that is supposed to
Hmm.
be your go-to person and what
Yeah.
have you.
Right.
I haven't experienced that necessarily. I mean, to an extent, but as far as the open line of communication back and forth, not just one
Sure.
way communication, you know, that I don't feel like I've received really.
Okay. So tell me the income, right? Let's say I got you kind of that structure and accountability and support, right? Like we do with our other clients who sell literally exactly what you sell. What type of income do you want to be able to get to if you have the right skill set?
Well, I mean, honestly, that I mean that's an open-ended question. I would love to be able to earn 100,000 a month. I would love, I
Okay.
mean,
Well, let's
but
say 3 to 6 months. Where do you want to be at? Like right now, what's the target we're trying to get up to?
okay. If I were to make just kind of simplify things and just set an attainable, reachable goal that I feel would be, a milestone, I would say 5,000 a month.
5,000. And like, how far are you from that? Right. Something like that.
Probably about 35.
3,500. Okay, so this
I,
would be like tripling your income then.
it just
If you got,
depends, and because I just went full time in June, I just retired. Okay, so uh, so I retired in June.
mm,
That month, I earned like 3,300, 3,600. Okay. Following month, I think I did like maybe 15, 1,700. This month, currently I'm at 277, but I've got a trade that I've already completed, which should bring me up to 2,000. or maybe about 1700. So it's kind of floating. Um, so far, outside of that month of June, it's been around. I'd say 1500 to 1700, which is
Well, so tell me, like between you and I, like as
yes,
a the biggest thing that I need leverage, right? Like I need a big enough target and a big enough leverage that kind of like helps me help you get there. Do you know what I mean? Like when
yeah,
people tell me they want to make like 5K a month, it's like that's not bad, but like I know you worked in the
yeah.
police force, like I don't want to help you in making the same amount of money you made before. I want to help you with doing something different, right? So like what is like a target that like really would get you excited? Right?
About 10K,
10K. Okay, perfect. So that's like
10K minimum.
10x your income, right?
Yeah.
And the example I gave to Patrick when he first came to us is this, right? Like if I put Usain Bolt on a running line, I put a golden medal and I tell the dude to run, like he'll run fast. If I put a lion behind him and I now there's a big enough consequence of him now. Right. And like as a coach, to have that leverage, I sort of need to know that. Do you know what I mean? So like you getting to let's say 10K a month, what does that actually allow you to do? You know what I mean? Like what's the golden medal that really makes it worthwhile making that type of income?
Well, that would definitely afford me the ability to live the lifestyle that I would really want to at a beginning,
Yeah,
truthfully.
like in what sense when you say lifestyle?
When I say lifestyle, I mean as far as, you know, traveling, as
Okay.
far as just maybe doing some things around the house, maybe an extra vehicle. I don't know. It just depends, but mainly not necessarily a vehicle because we've got vehicles. I really would like to invest more. I would like to
Yeah.
put more in my investment account. I would like to travel a bit more,
Okay.
and then just have that extra money that if there's something that I would like to do, then I can just choose to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Okay, so we're in specificity, right? Like I think, like if you say goes in every running thinking like I want to be first, second, or third, you know what I mean? Like it's like he's probably gonna get third. So when you say like having more in your investment account, like ideally, how much do you want in that investment account? Like what do you actually want in that?
You mean like as an end result, or
Yeah,
like
like what's the
what would
amount
I?
of money you actually want in that investment account? What's the goal you're
Oh man, I mean, well, I'm limited in the IRA, but I of course would have to, I would have to open up a brokerage account or maybe even a solo 401k. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
of
I know
it,
that. And like just put the
but
logistics. Like, what do
I
you want
would
to have?
I would probably, I mean, 50 million. I mean, that's, why not?
Okay, tell me the next 5 years. Like in the next 5 years, how much do you want to have in like your investments?
In the next 5 years, I would really feel comfortable being at 2.5 million in the
Okay, and
next
how
5
far
years.
are you from like the 2.5 million you need to make?
I'm probably let me see, it's about 700. So what, 2.2? No, 2 point, gosh, I'm not a big math. 1.8 million off.
Okay, so you're 1.8 million off. So like obviously 6 figures a year isn't going to cut it, but it puts you on the right track to get that done,
Sure.
right? Now you mentioned vacation. If you made 6 figures a year, like what's the first vacation you take? Right now you can't do.
Well, I definitely have some things that on a personal level that I'm having to take care of as far as with my wife, my spouse.
Yeah,
So there's a great chance that, which deals with her citizenship and all of that. She's from Honduras. So that's going to be something that, you know, I would have to prepare for. I mean, I'm prepared for it right now. I've got the money set aside, you know,
yeah,
for when because we're just waiting on immigration to tell us when we have to go back. and go to the embassy there and
Mhm.
come back.
Yeah.
So so right now I can't really take the vacations that I would really want to take with my
Okay.
wife because we would love to be able to go to, go to Europe. We would
Yeah.
love to
Tell
be,
me, tell me one thing, like money aside, because as you're mentioning this, it's funny because it's like I feel like money is one thing. I think the meaning behind you give behind any amount of money, the vacation, the investment account, that's another, right? So to make 10, you can take the vacations without having to look at the bill, right? Money aside, what would that do for like you personally, being able to actually like make those things happen?
you, you know, um, I think that it would create a very large surge in self-worth
How do you?
because
So very interesting way of describing it.
yeah, because going through the process of getting to that point means that I realize I have to change. I realize that my mindset had I've worked on a job, one job for nearly 32 years before that. And I started working when I was 14. So I've been
Right.
working on a job for, what, 40 some odd years, maybe 40 years. So that employee mindset is something that I feel like I've really had to, work on overcoming. And so,
Mm.
that's so I feel like for me to accomplish the goals that you're pulling out of me,
Yeah.
it's going to take a real change. And so that I would be very proud of myself.
Yeah.
Uh,
And the one thing I say about change, kind of like I says, like change is uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable not because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because the consequences of not changing are usually not comfortable enough, right? Like
right.
when an over person loses weight, it's finally when they realize being overweight is a far bigger consequence than being in shape, right? When somebody goes from 3K a month to like even like Patrick, it's because you finally realize that not changing is worse. Like tell me one thing, because you have a golden I'm going to hold that. But there's the other side of the coin, which is the consequence of like if we don't do something, right? And you have to explore both. People always want to consider success without failure, and that's why they end up failing. So my question for you, like, is what if you don't? Like, what happens if you don't acquire like the advanced skills necessary to like become 10K a month guy that's able to get the 2 in 5 years, is able to take those vacations and have that sense of, and like nothing changes another 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. Like, what happens then?
Well, I would imagine that I probably wouldn't feel the greatest, but one thing that I realize is that if I quit, I'll never make it.
Yeah. Why do you say that though, that you wouldn't feel the because like it's not about you quitting as much as it's about
Yeah.
considering failure. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like those are two different things. So when you say you want to feel as good, like make it a big consequence. What does that actually
Well,
mean?
well, a result of feeling like a failure could be I mean, a result could be me quitting. So
Yeah.
that's why I bring that up. And
Okay.
so and so but you know, I wouldn't feel great about it because I really would like to see this happen as quickly as possible. But
Okay.
then, I also have to be realistic in how I'm viewing this process because it is a process and everyone's process is different. That is his name, right? Patrick.
Yeah. You got it.
Patrick, his process went the way it did for him because he's who he is. Uh,
Well,
you
it's
know,
making it work in your style, right? But it's fixing the fundamental issue of getting the skill. That's what matters, I think. Because you like, there's no reason why if he can do it, you can't. Now,
sure,
will you have your own style with how you do it? Absolutely.
sure,
So I guess like, are you open to like me and holding you accountable, not only to the income, because that's an outcome, but to the skill sets you have to acquire to hit that income? Like, are you actually open to that accountability?
sure.
Okay. So based on what you shared, man, let's make a game plan of like what it's going to take to get to 10K a month. Because it's a lofty goal, right? Like it's still totally doable. but
Right.
it's going to require a completely different skill set than you have now in order to get to that outcome. Okay, so write this down. Based on what you shared, there's sort of three steps, okay, like, that we're going to need to kind of get you from where you are to where you need to go. So the way this will work is this is going to be training. This is going to be a whole year of training. Okay. Now the investment for the full year is going to be 83.56. So it's going to be pretty much like 8,300 bucks. If you need a payment plan or something, just ask me at the end. But I want you to write an equal sign and I want you to write the number 120. Because moving forward, Will, what I'm going to hold you accountable to is not, are you doing better? Because that's super vague, right? Like, are you feeling better? Are you doing better? What I want to hold you accountable to is, are you hitting that we need to hit? Because I'm big on like numbers don't lie. You got to hold people accountable to the hard stuff they don't want to be held accountable to. And people hate being held accountable to numbers because it's real. You can't miss it. Okay. So 120 moving forward is what we're going to do in the next 12 months. That is the standard, like I would call it. Okay. Step one is first going to be the portal. One of the things is where like you're lowering your status. First thing I can do before you start getting coached, for example, is you need to get a structure in place that works. So I'm going to give you access to proprietary training portal where he's going to teach you the basis of. So how do you go from asking these surface level questions where you get these surface level answers to asking the neuro emotional persuasion questions that'll put you in a position to pull people in? Because if you continue asking the same surface level questions and you get the same surface level answers, like every other advisor does, what bucket are you going to keep getting put into?
The same one.
Exactly right. Now, if you ask the right questions in the right tonality, like you see in our clients do, what do you feel like you sound like now?
Different.
Trusted advisor.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're buying. So the portal is going to teach you that. It's going to teach you the psychology and the stages of how to do that. Okay. Step two now is going to be about the coaching. Okay. I'm a big believer in this quote: immersion is the key to all success. You don't get good at something until you immerse yourself. Okay. So there are three things you're going to get coached every week on: your structure, your objections, and your tone. Because what I don't want is I don't want you to have a really good structure, but then every time an objection pops up, you put it into follow-up, or you're back to the old way of selling. Vice versa. You have a good structure, you're good at objections, but then your tone at times is off. So you sound like every other sales guy. It is your ability, man, to have the right structure, the right tone, and the right objections that will cause people to pull you in. For example, what do you feel is the biggest objection right now that's costing you the most sales? What do you feel like that is?
Hmm. Um, like as far as a response from someone.
Yeah, just in general. Like any objection, like what do you feel like is the biggest one?
Well, I mean, I get well, in times past, I've gotten oh, well, this sounds good, but, I really need to think about it. I never make a decision on the, first meeting or what have you. Um, so it's more or less kind of the off, kind of situation there.
Okay, and how often does that happen? Let's say per week, 5 times a week, 7 times a week, 3 times a week. How often?
Mm, gosh. And I'm having to kind of refer back a little bit further
Okay,
than because I started using a different process. Um, but I'd say at least 3 times a week. Let's just go
okay.
with
And what would let's say if you were to sell them, what would an average commission be worth to you from like one of those deals?
I could probably do anywhere from 400 to 800 bucks at least.
Okay, so let's say it's like 750, right? Do you have a
Mhm.
calculator on you by chance?
I do. Yeah.
And do the math with me, right? What's
Mhm.
3 times 750?
2250.
Okay, times that by like 4 weeks out of the month. And
So,
how long have you been doing this for? Like the whole financial advising gig?
I've been doing it since 2016, part
Okay,
time,
so let's just even times it by like 9 months into this year. What do we get?
81,000.
Yeah. So there's about 81,000, man, in potential commissions conservatively that we're leaving on the table because of that one objection alone of, let's say, like, I want to think about it. Right now, we're not It's not like we're going to overcome all of these. But if you had a better structure, better objections, and better tone, like, do you feel you could have overcame, let's say, at least half of those?
At least 50, at least 50%. Yeah.
Half, man, you're doing 40 grand and you're on pace to make six figures here. That will. So you have the ability, you just haven't acquired the right skills to do it yet. I told Patrick the same thing. You have the ability, you just need to acquire the skills. Do you get why it's structure, objections, and tonality rather than just one or the other? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. But that's also where step three comes in, which is going to be about consistency, right? Because you'll have the portal, you'll have the training, but like what I don't want is I don't want you to get an objection on Monday to wait till Friday to get feedback. Because that is literally the definition of insanity. Getting an objection on one day and expecting that somehow you're not going to get it the next day. Do you know what I mean? Like that doesn't make you better, right? If you don't get better every day, how are you going to 5x your income, 4x your income, 2x your income? Like you just won't. I don't want you to have a really good week and the next week it's really bad. So every single day, man, I'm going to give you daily role plays in addition to having a one-on-one coach that is going to hold you accountable, right? So like if you get an objection on Monday, fine. But like, I don't want you having to wait till Friday to get feedback on how to overcome it. I want you to get feedback that very day on how to overcome that objection. That way, the next day you don't make the same mistakes again. Because practice in itself isn't going to make perfect. It's perfect practice or close to that that makes perfect. And if every day, man, you're getting feedback, what do you think is going to end up happening to your sales?
Going to get much better. They're going to
Just get
improve.
make more of them. Make more of them. Because you actually are getting better rather than reading a book, watching a YouTube video, hoping that things are going to get better. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Does that structure feel good that it can get you from where you are to like where you need to go?
You're asking if I think that that structure would help me?
Like that process can put you in a better position to get to that six-figure target.
I believe so.
Yeah, and why though? Like for you, why do you feel like it would?
I mean, if I'm meeting with you every day and we're going through scenarios,
Mm.
uh, then I mean that's imprinting. I mean, you're getting muscle memory. It's too much easier the more I do it, and moving forward, I think that would definitely help me improve.
And what do you think out of all the pillars, like one, two, and three, what do you feel like will be like the key to the castle for like you personally?
Having out of the portal coaching and then the daily,
Yeah, accountability, if you will.
um, and they all are very valuable. I mean,
What do you
but
feel will be like the most helpful initially, let's say personally
the
for me?
meeting daily, I think.
Yeah, why that? Agree. Like that helped me the most as well when I met
Yeah.
Jeremy as a client. Why that for you?
I think that would, I mean, just having this interaction,
Yeah.
you know, honestly, like right now, as we're talking, I can't tell if you're reading or not because you're looking down as you're talking to me.
I have ADHD, so I'm very my
So,
eyes move around. That's why.
yeah,
Sorry, it's I'm looking at you though, but I have ADHD, so
but
I can't look straight.
yeah, yeah. And so on my camera, the way it's set up, the larger picture here is going to be below my camera. So if I look like I'm looking down,
Ah,
but,
you're good enough.
but, uh, but, uh, but yet and still, there is interaction between the two of us.
Sure.
I'm not on a website, looking at a video.
Or reading a book, right? Because everybody
Right,
got a sit smack reading books.
right, right.
I think the other thing as well, though, man, is like I don't know if you've heard of the quote, "You are the five friends you surround yourself between." That concept, but like I put you in a group of other salespeople that are making like Sean or like 20K a month. It sort of pushes you to do it now
Hmm.
because if they're actively hitting that income with the same that you might have, then like what's preventing you from getting that exact same outcome at this point?
Yeah,
Nothing. It's just a skill set you haven't acquired yet that can be acquired.
sure,
Does that make sense?
sure.
Okay. So that's how the process works. Now, what next steps are from here is I'm going to give you access to the portal right away, right? The training portal, because you got to start going through that. That way you start understanding it. Your first call is going to be a one-on-one call with your coach. So there's a guy on my team named Jordan. He's the guy who helped Patrick and all of our advisors. Okay. You're going to have a 30-minute game planning session with him where you're going to go over how we're going to get to 10K. Okay. I want you to get to 10K in the next 3 to 4 minutes minimum. Okay, there's no reason why you can't do it, especially now that you're full time and you're getting after it. Okay, and we can start taking the actions we need to take to get to that. Like, would that be appropriate, or how would you like to proceed?
Yeah. I'm sitting here, man. I'm noticing how all the value is being brought out right up front, and
Yeah.
and 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 then for me at the end to man that 8,300, that's quite a bit, but really I know it's not. I mean, not for the value that would come with participating,
I'll
but
share one thing with you. I don't share this with people just often because it's private. Break up the 8356. I'll cover that with you in a sec.
yeah,
Let me show you some work because
okay.
I was on the other side of this call a little bit ago as well. So I
Mhm.
met man at the beginning of 2021. So it's been like close to it's been close to like 4 years now, right? Um, like before, for example, yes, so I got paid bi-weekly, right? So December 2020, I made $750. December 31st, 2020, I made $700. So I was making about what you're making. I was making like 1,500 a month. Okay. 4 months later, man, because I acquired the right skills. On April 15, 2021, I made 56.25, right? And on April 30th, 2021, I made 41.50. Right. So I got to my first 10K in about 3.5, 4 months. Right. I didn't because I necessarily had the money. It's because I just found a way to get resourceful and I found a way to get the right skills. Right. So I say that because like I've been in your shoes. I know it's like not to have money, but remember one thing, money's not your problem. It's a symptom of the problem. And what I mean by that is it's a symptom of not having the right skills, which prevents you from having the money. I don't care like financially, man, if you need to break it up month to month, whatever you need to do logistically to make it happen, back on this. Whatever it's gonna do, we're gonna get done. Because all it is, does that make sense?
Yes,
So if you need to break it up month to month or whatever to make it happen, even if that means you gotta stick it on a card for the month to month, do what we gotta do because that means you need to make an extra two extra sales a month. With daily coaching, industry specific, do you believe you can make two sales a month?
I believe so.
So let me take you to the target. You do your job of showing up. So what I used to always tell my clients in fitness, do your job of showing up to the gym, whether you feel like it or you don't. I'll take care of the workout and the diet. That's fine. It's my job. Can you do that of showing up?
Sure.
Okay. So for payment plan, right? I did payment plan. So I did paid in full. So I had to stick this all on a credit card, right? What I can do is rather than paying this in full, I can break this up for, right? Over 6 to 12 months. There's no interest on that or anything where you just pay it month to month. So that as your income goes, you're able to take a percentage and set it aside. So like once you get to 10K, take 25% set aside. That's how you're going to be able to. But for right now, I'll break it up month to month. That way it's more feasible. Like, would that help you? You did something like
I believe it would. Yes.
that. And what's your credit, by the way? Because it depends on your credit, whether because there's 6, 9, and 12. What is your credit score?
I think it's maybe about 700, maybe.
Okay, and what state are you in? Okay, yeah, my family's from. Okay, so let's do one thing. We'll have to buy see which option you get between 6, 9, or 12. Obviously, let's hope for the 12 because that'll make it the most easiest, right? But then even if you have to do 6 or 9, what I'm also going to do for you, I'm going to give you the receipts of the month-to-month payments because you're going to be able to use it as tax write-off, as education for yourself because you are a contractor, right? Slash W-2. So I'll make sure you have all the logistics. Okay, but let's first see how long we can break it up. Okay.
Okay. No, yes. Okay. Of course. Um, Me being a former police officer, I I brought this up to John day before yesterday.
Mm.
So on the text that I received that said it was from, it said that the first meeting, the one-on-one that I would have, would actually, work on, would discuss some strategies or whatever. But he said that there would nothing would be brought up as far as me purchasing anything. And I'm in the second meeting, and
Can I make a suggestion?
yeah, to talk to me,
Listen,
Josh, because
listen.
I'm thinking like,
Look, okay, look, got your back. I know we have to make this work for you to get the outcome you want. I understand that. but this is the action we have to take to get to this.
Right, right, right.
And you and I will be meeting. This isn't the last time we chat, right? Just to be clear. But
Yeah,
with the
that's
money we're leaving on the table, we got to have training and alignment to fix it. This
no
is what's going
doubt.
to get the job.
No doubt, no doubt. Yash, look, let me tell you, my mind has been working far, longer than, and before this call that we got on,
Yeah.
because for me to really do something significant, I've got to do something significant. And I'm just thinking, what if I send this money and then next thing I know, I don't even,
Okay,
what?
one suggestion. There's always going to be uncertainty, but we got to start taking the actions we need to take. That's going to put you in a better position.
Right.
I get it because I've been on the other side of this call. You saw how much I was making. I get it. Take the fear, tell it to shut up, and say,
No,
I
no,
need to do what I got to do.
no. It's just that I'm thinking about scamming. I'm thinking about you get the
Well, I'm
money
going
and
to give
then
you
you
access to,
disappear.
I'm going to be giving you access to everything right now.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
hopping off this call with you. I'm giving you access to everything. Right? Credit card, right? If it's a scam, you can charge back on it. I'm going to be giving you access right now to everything. Not
yeah,
hopping off.
that's all. No, no,
I got you.
everything that you've said, the whole
Yeah, no,
everything
and the
going.
reason I like it, Will, because I like to have transparency. I'm pretty upfront. You and I have similar
Yeah.
personalities. We're very
You,
like upfront. So you know one thing, I'm going to give you access right now. We're going to schedule a call right now. I'm going to give you the portal right now. I'm not hopping off with you until that's set up right now. That'll take about 5 minutes though. But right now, I got
so and I'm going to tell you, I know that the system works
you.
because I'm watching you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm paying attention to your demeanor,
100%.
your presentation.
I've done it. Yeah. That's why
Yeah,
when I tell people I've been there, it's like I know the feeling because I've actually done
right,
it. I've actually
right,
spent the money
sure,
through
sure,
PayPal when I was broke. But yeah.
right. So, okay,
And I'll show you what to go through in the portal. That way, you know, because there's specific things that I'm going to recommend you go through first. I'll help you with that. But anyways, when you're on your game planning session,
mhm.
I'll get that full thing set up because I'm going to give notes to obviously your coach because I know for you it's financial advisor. And I'll be sending it to the same email, by the way, the portal. Okay, I'm going to set that up with you right now with the
Okay.
well 3. Okay.
W.
Yeah, that one works. Okay, perfect. Okay, proud of you, man. Now the real work begins, right? In terms of getting after it, I got your back on this. Let's just get the skill set. That's all it is. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
got your
All
back on
right.
this. Okay, let's make it happen.